David Wilczynski. I'm a longtime friend of Dean's. Michael Nash, Dean and I have been friends for over 40 years. And, well, to say that we were friends doesn't even begin to tell the story. We were undergraduates together at UCLA. We all learned to play bridge. After we left UCLA, we all lived in the same neighborhood in West Hollywood. We all got married together. We had our babies together. Every New Year's Day, every Super Bowl day for virtually the entire 40 years we spent together. One picture up there with me, Michael, and Dean, and my son Matt practically grew up right there listening to us tell stories. So I know a lot about Dean. We've had a lot of experiences, and it's kind of hard to figure out which one to talk about. I could have talked about our 6-hour hike at Haleakala in the volcano in Hawaii when Dean was like this big. I don't know how we did it, but you can't tell Dean no. You know that. So I thought of one story, that kind of a little two-part story. It was 1976. Dean was in Boston doing his master's at Harvard, and I was visiting him. I was in Boston at the same time for a business trip. I hadn't seen him for years. I was over his house. I went to visit, met Aviva. I hadn't seen her for a long time. And Dean said, well, you've never met Ivan. You'll enjoy talking to Ivan. So I went over, and there was Ivan, about 4 years old. He was almost 5. He had a little workbook. What was he doing? He was doing problems in set theory. So I asked him to show me what he was doing, and he showed me his problems, and I kind of went through, and it was pretty amazing. And then all of a sudden, a couple of the problems were wrong. It seems that Ivan had a little misconception about what the null set was. So I thought, okay. I tried to, talk to him about it, and he absolutely refused to listen or to accept the idea that the problems were wrong. So I said, okay, Ivan, how about you do a few problems for me? He said, sure. So I kind of gave him a problem, and he did it. And I gave him another problem, and he did it. And now I gave him a third problem, a setup. If he got it right, he would have had to acknowledge that the other problems were wrong. So I gave him that third problem. He stared at it, his eyes got really big. Okay, and he looked up, looked down again, slammed the book shut, and said, let's go have cookies. And that story was apocryphal. We have to now fast forward 30 years. There we were at my house watching a football game. All of us were there. Michael, Dean, me, and Matt. And Dean had just started teaching at Loyola. And he said to us, he was talking to me in fact, he said, I actually put something that you gave me into one of my classes. I said, really? He said, yeah, I've got Gödel's theorem in one of my classes. One of the most famous results in recursive function theory. So I kind of like, wow. I wasn't that surprised, because Dean, if nothing else, was a Renaissance man. He was interested in everything, okay? So I would give him some math articles and books to read. And so what could you teach a law school about Gödel's theorem? So he proceeds to tell me about how he incorporated it in one of his lectures. And it was very nice, but it was wrong. And I kind of like, Dean, that's not what Gödel's incompleteness theorem says. That's the wrong result. You got it kind of wrong. So Dean says, that's not how I understand it. And he said, I thought it went like this, and I thought I read it like this, and and we all just kind of sat there looking at Dean. And finally, after a couple seconds of prattling on, he looks up and he looks at all of us looking at him. He says, what's for dinner? I tell you, we're going to miss that little pop that you get when you meet Dean and all that stuff.